Hey everybody, it's mid-evening on Friday, July 12th, and thought I'd give you a quick video. It's probably going to be not so quick, 5 minutes maybe, of what's going on in the Naptown gardens. So we expanded this year. These new metal raised beds will help with weed control and kind of containing the compost that we use. And we set these up. The fronts are here are going to be herbs. So what you're looking at right now are lavender, and all this is a little small. This is a 2-year plant that I've been nurturing along, and hopefully next year, maybe 2 years. That's a 4x4 square there with that little rod to the right. And if you've never seen a lavender plant, it will expand to take up that entire space. So we're leaving this one open for some wildflowers. Got another one here. And then tomorrow's project, or this weekend's project, are to get these 2 final ones installed. And we've got these 2 other plants that we'll move over to there. And then in the back here, we've got some oregano on the ends, rosemary in the middle. And just like lavender, they will expand to take up the space, hoping that they overwinter. So they made it through last year's winter, but I kind of nursed them along, and we'll see how they do being 100% outside. These next 2 plots are strawberries. So I planted 8 strawberry plants here, and as you'll notice, they're really stretching out. So those little guys are called runners. So they will actually, that's how strawberries propagate. And so you can get real close, you might be able to see a couple roots coming out of there, but you take those and you plant them down into the soil and they'll actually multiply. So we started with 8 in this plot and 8 in this plot. This guy really took off. So what I did was I cheated, and those runners, I actually fed them into some pots, and I started with 8 plants over here, took the runners, potted them, and I ended up with 20 strawberry plants. And so I gave about a half a dozen to my sister-in-law, and I still got about 12 left, and I'll either sell them back to the Amish, which is where I bought the original plants from, or maybe transplant them. But I still got live runners in here I need to do something with. So come next spring, we should have full 2 beds of strawberries. So here I've got a couple leftover tomato plants and pepper plants. Got a couple beds that I'm not going to do anything with. These were our peas for this year. Peas are a spring vegetable, and as you can see, they're really dry right now, because once it starts getting hot, peas do not like the heat and they stop producing. Still got a couple pods on here, but we've got sugar snap peas, and then also snow peas, and then in between, because we like to take up all the space we can, we got some green onions. And you'll notice all the beds are covered in straw this year, so we're trying something new to manage weed suppression. So you'll notice over here, no weeds. Here, this is typically what one of our beds will look like. Along the edges, the weeds will just kind of take over. So this is the only bed that hasn't been weeded yet this year. There's a few more. I kind of spaced out the planting on the onions. So we got some later onions. There's one right there, very, very young. Our corn not doing as great as it did last year, but we're going to have some sweet corn, so pretty excited about that. The only reason it's not doing as well is we just didn't have the rain in June. Last year, in June and July, I only watered the garden like 3 or 4 times in 60 days. And we had a drought in June. We had no water, literally almost no rain. And then I think July 1, it was like June 28, 29, 30. We had 4 inches of rain in 24 hours. So that really is good timing. So hoping that the corn's going to take off. Last year it was about 7 or 8 feet tall. Right now it's only about 6 feet tall. And you'll notice this is called Christmas treeing. So when the shoot, I can't think of what the name is, but when those peak and then break down and fall like a Christmas tree, that's when they start producing pollen and seed, which then is caught by the silk in corn, and that germinates the corn to produce a kernel. So once it Christmas trees, again, they fall down, the branches fall down off of these. 21 days later, that's when the corn will be ready. So these all Christmas treed around July 1. So in about another 1 to 2 weeks, we'll be able to start harvesting some corn. This was an onion bed. We've already harvested about half of our onions. And you can see here we had a double. And again, last year our onions were bigger than a softball. Right now, most of them are about the average size of a hand. They're still pretty good sized onions, but they're just not as big as last year. And again, that was because of the amount of rain that we didn't get. So again, just kind of giving you an idea. These are really good sized onions, and they'll store for 4 to 6 months. And then this viney plant that you see is both a pickle plant and a cantaloupe plant. So I don't know if I got any cantaloupes in here I can show you, or pickles for that matter. I need to do a little. There's a cantaloupe, but these guys came up volunteer. So my compost didn't kill all the seed, and so they just there was some leftover seed last year, pickle seed and cantaloupe seed. So they came up. I call them rogue plants, and a lot of times I'll let the rogue plants go. Here's a tomato plant that's rogue. He's not supposed to be here, but it's very healthy, and it's going to produce some nice tomatoes. So we got some down here. So I'm gonna let those go. This is our brassica plot, and brassicas are the leafy vegetable like cabbage. This is cauliflower. It looks a little purple, but that's the way it's supposed to look. It's a particular variety, and if you break it off and eat it, it tastes just like broccoli. So we've got a couple heads of broccoli. If you like kale is just crazy. We got so much kale. I've planted way too much. So really easy to harvest. You just kind of rip it right off the stalk. I'll just show you. Just take it and pull off the stalk, and it pretty much looks like the kale that you buy in the store. And so if you like kale, I got plenty to share. These other plants over here, also part of the cabbage family, brassicas, are Brussels sprouts. And we're big fans of Brussels sprouts. And I know a lot of you guys like Brussels sprouts and bacon. So those are pretty close to being harvested. So we're gonna be doing those. And then I got a second batch of corn. So that corn over there was planted in early June. This corn was planted about 2 or 3 weeks later. So we space out our corn harvest. So we got corn starting about mid-August all the way through to September. This plot here, covered up just again for weed control. We'll be planting more corn to extend that harvest timeline. And then you all know I'm very big fan of peppers. So I got I think 16 varieties of peppers this year. I've got pepperoncinis, and these are called actually I don't even remember what they're called. I have to look at them. Oh, these are garden salsa. These are the perfect plant for salsa. These are green chilies. So but if you let them ripen, they'll become red chilies. But these are usually 6 to 7 inch fruits, and so we'll can those and use them in Tex-Mex dishes. They're big producers. Lots of fruit, big fruit. So got those. These are everybody's favorites here, habaneros. So you can kind of see those growing. Pretty healthy. I like to let them get, all of the peppers, the longer you leave them on the vine, they will eventually turn red. Cherry peppers. A couple plants of cherry peppers. These are an Asian pepper called Amazing. So if you like the Asian zing buffalo sauce at B-Dubs, that's the pepper that they use for that. This is a tomatillo plant. So if you like salsa verde, which we do, same thing. This guy, he got way out of control. He was about 3 foot wide, or actually he's about 5 foot wide right now. 3 foot tall, and I had to do some major pruning because lots of foliage, but as you can see, not a whole lot of fruit. So that one got away from me. This guy's got some fruit on it. It'll catch up, and they'll start producing fruit. So here's what a tomatillo plant fruit looks like. It's in a little husk, and once it gets ready, you pull it off and pull the husk off. I think these are my, these are just regular old yellow, red, green bell peppers. So I've got all varieties of bell peppers. These are my, poblanos, if I can find a good one. There we go. And if you like stuffed poblanos, I'm trying to think of what they call them in the Mexican restaurants. Chile relleno. That's what they make chili rellenos out of, or the poblano peppers. So again, really good producers, and those will get about twice as big as what I did show you. Really super excited about this plot here. This thing's out of control. Looks like a little jungle. Let me back up. So on the right side here, just standard green beans, bush. They're called bush beans. Lake 274. That's just a variety, and every little white thing you see is going to turn into a green bean. So we're going to have a ton of green beans. We've already got a bunch of green beans canned from last year, but this year we're going to do dilly beans. So if you've never had a dilly bean, that's a green bean that's canned in dill sauce, or dill mixture. And this is the first time for growing these guys. These things are almost over 3 foot tall, and they got purple blossoms. So everywhere you see a purple blossom, we're going to have a bean. This is edamame. So excited about this. This is the first year we've grown edamame. I know a lot of you have had that. If you go to kind of a Japanese steakhouse as an appetizer. So once those come off the vine, we can flash freeze those, and they keep for a long time. These are my tomato plants. They're taller than me, so right now they're probably almost 6 foot tall, and they will continue to grow and produce. So I've got a couple big boys, which are the big steak size, if you will, hamburger patty size, and then also I've got some better boys, which are used just to eat, or used for canning and making salsa. So we're gonna have a ton of tomatoes. My tomatoes produce, oh my gosh, I think I got 100 pounds of tomatoes off of 3 or 4 plants last year, and expect the same thing for this year. So more tomato plants, or pepper plants. So these are my jalapenos. So these ought to be pretty familiar for you. If I can get in here, show you a couple jalapeno plants. These are typical banana peppers, not too spicy. You can just pick them off and eat them. Low spice on those guys. And these are shishitos. So very similar to a pepperoncini, but they're a little bit longer. And like the pepperoncinis, we'll can these in just salt and vinegar, and they're make for a good relish, or dry them and then use them in salsa or any other kind of mixture or recipe that we have for for hot peppers. And then the big thing I'm probably going to do this year, I know I'm going to do, is, and I'll post a separate video, is we're going to take these peppers, dry them, and then kind of a really popular thing right now is hot honey. So I'll post another video. We started a honeybee hive. So next spring we'll have honey. I'll have a ton of peppers, either frozen and or dried, and then we'll turn that into some hot honey. So hope you enjoyed the video. 15 minutes long, so not too short, but that's what I do is in the evenings, try and relax and do mindless task of taking care of my garden.